Hey everybody, welcome to the IronTrap podcast.
What's up, guys? This is take number 2.
Take number two, because a freight shipment came for pickup unannounced,
Yes. And we don't
and
remember where we left off, so we're just going to start over.
yeah, Mike had to run unexpectedly to the mill to load a freight shipment. So here we are.
Hopefully, this is the final take for this podcast.
Been a little bit of a crazy week. So as always, we do these weekly. You can subscribe and watch on YouTube, of course, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple, any of your suggested
Yep.
um,
Podcast listening
podcast listening,
apps.
yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Matt's brain just stopped for a
My
millisecond.
brain is not working. I'm like totally fried for this week. I really. So we but yeah, so we have a little bit less craziness as far as car shows go, but we are getting into our swap meet season,
Yeah.
our fall swap meet season, which is basically Carlisle and Hershey. So Mike and now Luke will be preparing for the swap meet.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks we'll be hitting it hard, trying to make sure we have things packed and ready to rock and roll. We usually bring a little bit different stuff to Hershey than we do Carlisle. We'll set some stuff aside that's Hershey specific. So if you're coming to both shows, be sure to stop at our booth both times because there will be different stuff at both shows. Hopefully something catches your eye at both and you spend some money.
Yeah, so we have we've been trying to figure out what we have. We're kind of heavy on vehicles right now, or project cars. Just
I did sell one today though, which is good.
yeah, that's what I was getting into. So the so usually we only have like one thing, but for whatever reason, the way the estates work this year, we were getting a bunch of like bodies or project cars, complete cars, on and on. So we still tentatively have on our plan to bring the 39 convertible coupe.
Yep.
But we have a viewer that has been very interested for a while. But like we always say, until there's a deposit or the money is in our hands, we can't count on anything. Things do change. So we tentatively have that. Steve actually this week was able to get over there, bolt the other running board back on. He actually ran the engine for 20 or so minutes with a nurse tank and then the gas tank just to make sure it has some gas in it that's probably looks like it's like half stable, half gasoline. So it probably needs some fresh gas in it. So, but at least now it starts, it runs. We made sure the engine wasn't cracked and everything was good there.
100% figured it wasn't going to be, but with any of these deals, we got to just put it out there and prove it that the engine's, it's a good running flathead.
So Steve did that. So if we don't get a deposit or can close a sale on it before Carlisle and Hershey, then we'll just give it a bath and probably put it in the truck and take it to Hershey. Mike the Model A Roadster project in pieces. Mike today a viewer stopped by.
Yep.
Was it a viewer or off?
Yeah, he watches our stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Viewer came by and bought that. So that thing is moving along to a new home that's going to get built up. The T project that I've quickly realized is not exactly what I want. And also I have 1,000 projects. So that we have a viewer interested in.
Yep.
We'll see what happens with that. I'm just kind of letting the chips fall. Like it's like I like the car, but it's so far down on the list. I'm like, I feel like I'm forcing things with that.
Yeah,
that
and
project.
we also have that 39 coupe as well,
Yep.
too. We might take that. If everything else sells, we might take that to Carlisle.
That's a good Carlisle one.
Yeah, that's a good Carlisle. We try and bring lower end stuff to Carlisle because it seems like we've never really taken a super nice car to Hershey. But we've had good luck selling not great cars at Carlisle.
Affordable stuff
Yeah.
that you're going to get rid of at a very affordable price. A lot of times at Hershey or Carlisle, there's people there looking to build like that. And it's happening at Hershey, but I feel like at Hershey there is so much more of that, our stuff at Hershey, that like a 39 coupe rolling project may not stand out as much at Hershey as it would Carlisle. So it's just, you never know. It's hit or miss. It's just a matter of, I always think it's good to, especially for Carlisle and Hershey, it's good to have something to draw people into your booth. So that's always nice. Even if we don't sell it, it's
Yeah.
good to have it there. It gets people, drawn over just to take a look at it.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of the plan. We're gonna
That's all the cars we have to sell right now, right?
think. I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. We'll see what happens
Yeah.
next week or the week before. You never know. The day before.
Oh, we do have coming up. I should mention this. Coming up in the week in the life of, we went and picked up a 36 uh, panel truck locally, like a mile from the mill. That is for sale. If you're interested, send us a message.
It's as far apart gets.
Yes. There is every piece of bit, wood and body panel and lead seam has been removed, and it's a large model kit. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
If you've always wanted to assemble a full scale model, this is for you.
But this was a good one. At least it was stored somewhat dry.
It's a super solid body.
Really solid body. In today's day, it was pulled apart a number of years ago. But in today's day and age, somebody like us probably wouldn't have torn apart. Probably would have just got it running and patched in some rust repair and just enjoyed it. But it's apart. So it's a great candidate to either restore, put back together in hot rod, use it for lawn art. I don't know. But we're going to at least try our best. We hate the part vehicles out when we as much as anybody else, but like if we can't really get anybody interested, we're essentially Mike put it up for sale on Instagram, and it was like what like the pickup truck specific parts were worth. You're getting like a free delivery pieces almost with it. So it's like if we can't sell it for an affordable price, then we're gonna have to part it out, and then we'll sell the doors. We'll sell the pickup truck specific stuff is worth a good bit of money.
But it's literally a complete. I mean, every bracket we think is there.
Yeah.
Has the delivery or the panel specific rear fenders.
Yep.
Has the correct rear doors that are really nice. I mean, it literally looks like someone took it apart. Well, they did take it apart nut by bolt, but there's just bins of the long ass bolts that go through the wood into the frame. There's literally everything. Hopefully, everything you need to put it together.
So we'll who knows? Maybe we'll get a bug up our ass and we'll zip screw that thing together and take it to Hershey. It would definitely draw a crowd in if we put it back together. It's just time is always our problem. We're just pulled so many directions.
If you're interested, send us an email, irontrapgarage@gmail.com. I have a ton of photos I can send you of all the bits and pieces.
Yes. And I mean, otherwise, as far as updates go, we are making really good progress at the mill.
Yeah.
One of our local friends, car buddy, had stopped by and was looking for some work, and
Boy, did we have work for him.
Yeah, it just so happens we had a ton of work for him. So he's been great. He's been literally almost 40 hours a week. At least the last couple of weeks, he's been freed up enough to be like at least 2 to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
This week was actually 5 days. So he's been putting a bunch of work, and we actually got this whole other wall that's opposite of where George, Evan, myself, and Luke helped a little bit. The other wall on the other side that we had fixed, the same thing on the other side. Not as bad, but a lot of broken boards. He had scraped a bunch of the shingles and stuff off, and we instantly were finding
It looked like they ran into it with a forklift
multiple times.
Bunch of different spots.
So he went through, and we were literally scavenging every building to find.
we took a wall out on the upstairs where the two buildings are joined. They like left the siding between. We were looking for beadboard, and I was standing there. I'm like, "Hey, Matt, come up here real quick." I'm like, "This whole wall is beadboard. We don't need this wall, really." So Rod ripped it out, and we're using it on the outside of the building now.
Yeah, and it worked out really well. He's got all that done. He's been rebuilding doors. It stinks to spend. It doesn't stink. It's just hard. Anybody likes to save money where you can, but the paying another person has been tough. But honestly, it's been nice because I've been freed up to kind of juggle a lot of other stuff that's going on, and I don't know if I would have been able to put the focus and time to it like he did, because he's got at least 2 weeks.
Probably, yeah.
At least 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks of solid work, 5 days a week almost. He's got like 2 weeks of work or so into it, and the major, really ugly broken boards have all been replaced. He was literally rebuilding the window frames, some of the door frames, some of the the boards for the not for the building, but like the beams for the door openings
Yeah.
were just like everything was broken and rotted, and that somebody broke the door open and ripped the latch out, and then they just like moved the latch over a little bit, and it's just ripping out. So we're kind of like, it's one of those things you just look at the stuff, you're like, ugh.
If you think about like a house built in the 50s, the amount of neglect. This is a building built in the 1850s.
Yeah.
So it's like almost 200 years of neglect and damage that we're trying to fix.
Yeah, so he's making good progress now, and then soon we're gonna be fixing all the sliding doors. Our friend
Scraping
Tony,
the rest of the shingles off,
yeah,
which would be amazing.
yeah, it would be great. And our friend Tony, who's been working on the roof and then painting the other side of the building, he this week got the street side
Yep.
painted. I've been, and I'm getting very excited. So I kind of came up with a rough, inspirational design. We're gonna leave it, not gonna show it yet, but I found a cool design, and Hot Rod Jen, who did the side of the big red truck. Jen loves doing big, large format stuff. And I had pitched it to her when I first got the mill, and then I just checked with her the other day with this design, and she really liked it. So she's gonna be doing that. So we're gonna try and work on getting a rough sketch together, just to make sure that the borough's okay with it. They said there's no permits needed, but like I'm trying to play it safe, so I'm gonna send them that. Not that we're doing anything weird. It's just
That wall literally faces the town hall
Yeah.
where the borough meeting
so
is.
we want to make sure that there's no issues, or there is a permit that is
Yes.
needed. I don't think there's gonna be, but it's gonna be really cool. Obviously, very nostalgic. And it's gonna be awesome when she does it. So I'm excited. So I'm fingers crossed, hoping for maybe spring to do that, because I'd like to have that whole oldest, roughest building painted and fixed and everything by the winter. So that way, hopefully in the spring, we can kind of get a game plan with her, and when it gets warm enough, she can come out, paint that, and then we'll be really moving along at that point.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
I think.
I'm
So.
just excited to see that building without shingles on it the whole way. It's gonna be nice.
The other side looks, even though it's like still got like boards that are, and nothing's like perfect on it. It looks so much better when you come up the street. There's a gutter on it now. Next week, I think Tony's gonna trim out the white on all the window frames and door frames.
And just the side that Rod's working on, as long as you like block all the
Yeah.
shingles up, it looks great from the windows down. It looks amazing.
Well, a lot of the boards he's using were already still painted barn reds. You
Yeah,
put
they
them on,
blend in,
They
yeah.
blend in. They look perfect. So it's working out really good. I'm excited. So this has been not, I don't want to say stressful. It's just been like a lot.
That's another thing to juggle.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Like I'm literally been at capacity this summer. I have no more mental space, monetary space,
Mental space.
mental
anything.
space, everything.
And the good thing, Matt and I have been talking, we're slowly moving stuff over there. This week I moved a bunch of body panels. We're going to continue with that process, and hopefully by the spring is the plan. We'll try to have almost the whole parts operation moved
Good
over there
majority of it, yeah.
spring, early summer next year.
The big thing we're running into is the like all the wood planks in the building that we're currently working on. We'd like to use that for our storage of a lot of our bulk parts. And the floor is all uneven and whatever. So it's like we really should replank that.
And Rod stole a bunch of the floor to decide the building. So.
Yeah. So that's one of those things. That would be the one thing that would hold us back. If we may have to wait till spring for labor, money, weather, depending.
All of the above.
All of the above, we may have to do that. But if hopefully, like, I can take a breath this winter and not be spending as much money, so I could squirrel some money away, and then we get to spring. When spring starts coming, we can hopefully do that floor. And then once that building's like all that stuff's fixed, that building is going to be 90% all of our inventory of our excess inventory. So it'll be nice because we can just kind of move it all in.
Yep.
So be really cool. What are we talking about today? I forget already.
So we're gonna talk. We've talked about some adventures to this area. We talked about visiting Will in Seattle, but we've done a bunch of small estates in the Pacific Northwest area, and we thought it'd be fun just to talk about our time in the Pacific Northwest, minus our the stuff we bought from Will, because there's like 5 or 6 different places we visited and bought parts from up in that area that it kind of doesn't make a video for each, so we figured we'd lump them all into one whole video and kind of talk about all the crazy stuff we got into up there.
Yeah, and it's been a bummer the past, 2 years we haven't been able to make it just because of. Has it been
Did we
two
go
years?
last year?
No, I don't think we did.
I have to look. I think we went. Oh, it might be 2 years. Yeah.
No, I don't think we did because we were building the other building,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it
and
was
it was like right,
2013 we went.
so we haven't been in a couple years. There for a minute, I was trying to go every year, and it was really enjoyed it. Going to the Pacific Northwest in like May is like incredible. It's
Yeah,
like
it's the best time of year to go there.
it's like beautiful weather. The kind of dreariness for the most part, their winter is kind of over. It hasn't gotten super hot. So like much like here, our May is like one of the best time. May, June here is really nice. Their May is really, really nice. So we were trying to do a trip around that. Um, we've never been to the Portland swap meet. I
Yeah.
would love to go. It just always ends up interfering with. It's really close to Carlisle,
Yeah.
and then it's usually like the same time as Charlotte.
Hmm.
Although we skipped Charlotte this year, and I don't know if I missed it too much. I think Charlotte's getting a little bare, and we've done it for a bunch of years, so we may, I don't know. But anyways, the Pacific Northwest that time of year is really good.
Yeah.
Um,
So what? The first trip, the person that drew you in was Dan's father's collection, correct? That was the main
yes,
reason for going.
yes, it was kind of crazy. I've actually never been to the Pacific Northwest ever in all my
Oh,
traveling
really?
before that trip. Yeah, it was the
Huh.
first time I was there. So we got a call from
It's 409 Garage, right?
409 Garage. That does a lot of internationals and is getting these nice original paint high desert type
Mm-hmm.
trucks. He's doing kind of like what we do, not really as much parts, but hunting for the stuff. And
He's
he's
found some crazy rare trucks.
yeah, really cool. But he kind of ran into Dan through like a mutual friend or something, and they got to talking, and then Dan mentioned that he had, Dan's a second generation hustler. So his father
That's a good way to put that.
was buying and selling old car parts and selling at Portland and selling out of his property and buying low, selling high, literally doing what we do. But for his whole life, and then Dan was doing it since he was a small child, and then Dan got into Cadillacs real heavy, and he's been, went crazy with the caddy stuff, so he's been doing it forever. So like Dan is any of us that's been doing it your whole life, you're really good at like casually selling things. So I feel like the way it probably happened, knowing Dan too, because Dan's pretty good at kind of
Talking people into things.
yeah. He's good at like the soft sell, which I feel like not a lot of people are good at. So I imagine when Ben was there and they met,
That's right. That was his name.
Ben probably like, he kind of like was soft selling him on it. And then Ben had been watching our channel. It was like, oh, I know these guys in PA, blah, blah, blah. And then he got in touch with me, contacted me, started talking. This was like in the midst of, I almost want to say the height of the shutdown.
It was like June 2020.
Yeah. So it was like during COVID, during the height of the shutdown almost. You could fly, but it was when the crazy restrictions
Yeah.
of, the second you got on the property, you had to put a mask on and you couldn't take one off till you walked outside of the property. Couldn't, to eat, I think when I left, no restaurants in PA were open. Because I remember when I went there, we had dinner. I had dinner with, I think, Ryan. And whoever I had dinner with, it was the first time that I'd eaten. They had removed their mask while they had opened their restaurants before us. So I sat there and ate at a restaurant.
It's
And
like
it was
the
the
first
first
time in
time.
5 months,
And,
probably.
yeah, it was like in months. And it was like, whoa, this is weird. I remember we were at some like, I don't know, Apple Fridays, type place.
Yeah.
Buffalo Fridays,
Some
type place.
corporate chain.
Yeah. And it was super weird. But yeah, so I talked to Dan on the phone, and it was kind of one of these ones where like, I didn't see a ton of photos. It was more just like talking on the phone. I think Dan did get me a little bit of photos, but not a ton. And Dan's pretty good at being very low key.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan didn't really tell me how crazy all his stuff was, how long he'd been doing it exactly. He gave me some information, but not as good as, he's playing his cards, so to speak. And so he got me some pictures. I'm like, wow, this place is crazy. There was a bunch of signs and cool stuff. So it's like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
this looks great. And I hadn't been on any kind of like adventure in a while because of COVID for the most part. So I was like, screw it. The airports are open. I looked up flights and they were like insanely cheap at that point.
You're probably one of the only people on the plane, right? Was it pretty empty?
It was really empty. I mean, I think when I flew, it was one, it was either one person to a row or it was every other seat because they had all this weird stuff with as they were going through the shutdown. It was like when they first started flying again, I think it was something like one person to a row.
So
And then it
wild.
was like when I flew, it might have been one person, two people to a row, and there had to be a seat in between you. And the flight was half empty anyways.
Yeah.
So I got a flight for, I don't know, it was like $150.
I
or
remember the
$200.
whole trip was like insane. The round trip was like very
Super
cheap.
cheap. So I hooked up, talked to Dan, was trying to plan the trip. Then I had recently reconnected with a high school friend, Ryan. Ryan was at that time living in Washington and was a police officer in Washington, and I guess he was working crazy hours, especially with this was also during all the riots
Yeah.
that were going on, where they like Seattle, Portland, like all those cities were a total disaster, and people were rioting, and
Yeah.
it was just like mayhem. So he was looking for an excuse to take some vacation time. So I called him and mainly was just like, hey man, can I crash with you for a day or two until I head south? I didn't, I was trying to figure my plan out. And I was going to just rent a car or rent a box truck like we always do. And he was like, oh dude, I'll go on the trip with you. Like I got nothing going on. I got he had a, like an F-350 with a flatbed on it
Yep.
and blah, blah, blah. So I think a trailer. We brought a trailer too, maybe. And he was like, dude, I'll go. Sounds like fun. I like old cars.
Yeah.
And, so it was like that trip. I mean, we could do a podcast on just that trip. It was really crazy because,
Oh well,
here we go.
it's changing. We're talking about Matt's. We'll spend
Well, I
this
just
whole video talking about this.
Yeah, I forgot about all that. So Ryan and I weren't really super close friends in high school. We played football together, blah, blah, blah. We weren't like super like close friends, but we were acquaintances friends. In high school, ran with a lot of the same people. And now this is 2020. I graduated in 20,000. 20,000. Jesus mighty. Wow. 2000. 20,000 AD.
His brain is definitely not working.
I am so fried, man.
That was good.
So I graduated in 20,000. 20,000. What is wrong with me?
You did it again.
2000. We're going to get past these dates here. And it'd been 20 years since at least since we had, spoken a word in person. So, so I flew out.
How'd you hooked up with Rick, the viewer Rick?
Oh, man,
Did you
how
put something on Facebook that you were going out on our Facebook page?
I might have. Yeah, I might not
Because
have.
I think he did, because he also then contacted a bunch of people in the early VA
Yeah,
club.
so I guess I am forgetting all this. So,
This was also 5 years ago.
yeah, so Ryan said, yeah, I'm down, blah, blah, blah. And then I put a post up. Oh, yeah, because Ryan had to work like a day or two at his day job before he could leave.
Yeah.
So I had to waste a day or two in like the, Seattle, Washington, in Washington. And I was like, I think I put a post up on our Facebook page like, hey, I'm going to be in, Washington, blah, blah, blah. If anybody's got stuff to look at or collections or just wants to hang out, let me know. Like I kind of just opened it. I was like, I'll waste a day or two. I knew Dan had so much stuff. I'm like, I don't even need to worry about. I could spend all my money and space there easily. Yeah. And then, so then I put that post up and I actually got a handful of responses. I also got a response from Eddie down in
He's in Salem, I think.
Salem, Oregon. And he was like, "Hey man, if you need any help with anything, blah
Oh,
blah blah,
that's
just
right.
let me know." And I basically coordinated two ends. So I had Ryan said he was down to go, and he would road trip down with me. And I'm like, okay, cool, I got that figured out. I didn't know how I was exactly going to get the stuff back home. And Ryan was like, well, if you want, we can tow it all back to my place, and I can help you ship it back if you want. We can palletize it. So we then Eddie hit me up and was like, "Hey, my car, like bunch of my car buddies, my one friend has a property that you can like package everything out. My one, I think maybe the same friend owns some sort of business that shipped freight, so he had pallets. He could ship it out of his um, terminal or
Mm-hmm.
dock or whatever." So I was like, "Okay, I have both ends, but I got to figure out what to do for a couple of days
And
because
how also to get from, because Ryan didn't live near Seattle. He was south. He
yeah,
was southern, not southern. I guess kind of southern Washington. So we had to get you had to get from
yeah, and I was
Seattle.
gonna rent a car if I had to. It wasn't a huge deal. I was just like, but I mainly was like,
What am I going to do for
what do
two
I do for
days?
2 days? Because I'm not a normal person, so I'm not just gonna. And it was during COVID and riots, so I'm like, well, I can't just go to the museum
Yeah,
or like go sightsee
yeah.
because it's kind of not a great time for that. So I put a post out there. One of our viewers, Rick, hit me up, and he lived um, outside of Seattle, and he was super cool. And he was like, I think he picked me up at the airport
Yeah, he
even.
did.
Yeah, so he ended up being he was super cool. He was like, "Yeah, I'll pick you up at the airport." He's in the early V8 club, so he was like, worst case, I'll take you to a couple of different guys I know, and you can just take a look around and see some people's
Yeah.
cars. And I was like, that's great. Like, I don't need to buy anything. If I could just go and meet some new people and see some cars, great. I can waste 2 days. So Rick had a flexible job schedule that he was able to kind of tote me around. So Rick picked me up. Oh, right before we left, Rick put an email out to the early V8 club, their region, and just said, "Hey, Matt from IronTrap's coming. If anybody wants to show him around or has some cars, here's what he's into, these types of cars, blah blah blah." He also is always looking for parts to buy if anybody's interested. And he got like actually three or four
Yeah.
people. One or two of them just didn't work out, but we got like three or four people that wanted to let me see their collection and possibly buy some stuff. So Rick picked me up, and then I forget which one we did first. My memory
Yeah, I don't remember.
is a little foggy on which one we did first. Um, but yeah, so we did the one I think we did first is we went to visit. We went to this like this killer neighborhood with amazing mid-century modern houses, and we went to this like I think he was in his mid 90s. This gentleman in his mid 90s that had a bunch of really cool cars in his garage. Um, and we showed it in a video. He had like a 36.
Oh, I forgot. Totally forgot about this
I
stop.
think he had a 36 four door maybe, but he had like
He had a
almost.
Phaeton, didn't he?
Oh no, it was a Phaeton. That's
I
what
think
it
it was a
was.
34 Phaeton.
Oh, maybe it was 35. I thought it was 36. But yeah, you might be right. He had some kind of 46 7. He had a few cars, stuff on the lift, but he had like every K.R. Wilson tool just about made. Maybe not every one, but he had a lot.
There were shelves and shelves and
Shelves
shelves.
of K.R. Wilson stuff he loved, and his garage was just packed with stuff. And he was basically in his mid 90s, and his son is also in the early V8 club, who was in his 60s or maybe 70s.
70s, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he had contacted Rick and said, "Hey, you guys are welcome to come by. We're thinking about selling some of Dad's stuff." So when Rick told me about it, he's like, "Oh, this guy's like a total restoration guy, so I don't know if there's going to be a lot for you." I'm like, "Oh, you never know." So we get there and look around, and there, he has great stuff. He has all the Carol Wilson tools, but then we turn the corner, and there's a bunch of flathead intakes hanging on the wall, dual carb intakes, and I'm like, "Well, I thought your dad just did restoration." He's like, "My dad just would pick these up at flea markets, just because they were neat wall items. He's like, he's not a hot rodder. He just thought they were neat, so he'd hang them on the wall."
Yeah.
He's like, "In fact, I think there's one or two intakes in the house in his office as well. I can show you." But he's like, "Those are definitely for sale because Dad just bought them cheap at flea markets over the years and just hung them on the wall." If you hear the noise in the background, Moon's literally snoring.
It's progressively getting
It's
louder as
getting
we
louder.
shoot
He
this.
he and I took a ride and went and picked up some exhaust tubing from our friend, a shop, one town over, and then we went to the mill and checked on Rod at the mill and stuff. So he's all exhausted because he was riding in the car for an hour,
Trying not to
zip
fall
around.
over.
Well,
Yeah.
that and we stopped at all these places. He ran around and
yeah.
had his excitement for the day. He's an old man now, so he's tuckered out.
Yeah, he's gonna be sleeping the rest of the day.
Yeah. So, anyways, he was like, "Oh yeah, we'll sell the intakes, no problem." The only stuff that his dad really held close to his heart was he actually had an incredible dealer brochure and dealer book collection that was in his office. Anyways, I started plucking the intakes off the wall, and I remember it was pretty good stuff. I have a photo. There's probably a photo. We could probably drop it
In the video, from the video, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a good.
There was a Columbia.
Yeah, there was a good 10 intakes or something like that. There was, I think, a thick-skin high-rise potentially that I think I still have. It was original paint.
Oh, yeah.
It's that one up there. I think it was an original paint thick-skin high-rise. There was some other miscellaneous ones that I don't remember anymore. But yeah, I got I think the Columbia.
Yep, came from there. I remember that.
Which is a Pacific Northwest specific. And I think I got one other one on that trip.
That was Pacific Northwest, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's the same design. I can't remember whose it is. But anyways, I got 2 or 3 intakes that I kept, that was hanging on his wall. He had a 4.2 intake, I think, in his office they ended up buying.
Yeah, I think there was an Edelbrock with carbs on it, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was in his office, and I bought that. I got that really cool. We were close to the end of the day of all the stuff, making my big pile of what I was going to buy. And I spotted this on top of the one shelf near all the Kara Wilson tools. There was a Carter carburetor sign that's a little point of sale one that's actually meant to rotate and light up. And it was sitting there, and his dad's hardcore Ford guy. So I was just, just joking back and forth. I said, "Oh, what's that? That's a Carter carburetors. That's GM." And he's like, "Honestly, I don't know what the heck that's doing here. Dad would have never on purpose bought that." He's like, "Who knows where it came? Maybe it came with a car or something. I don't know." He's like, "You want to buy it?" I'm like, "Sure, it's cool." So I bought that, which is really awesome. It's actually ended up being quite rare. The motor doesn't work in it. I never tried too hard to get it working, but I put a light in it. It's a little damaged. It has a crack on the one side, but
I forgot you totally bought that there.
I bought a bunch of keeper stuff at that. That was out the gate. It was holy crap. So both places we stopped, with Rick, I was like, I bought. And mind you, I bought a bunch of cash to buy at Dan's.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 2 places I stop is all high test stuff. It's 10 intakes, all this neat stuff I bought. And I'm like, okay, well, this is starting.
Well, actually, you made 3 stops with him. The one you didn't buy anything, but the guy had all really great stuff.
Yeah. So anyways, I bought all that stuff. That was really, really cool. I can't remember if he was first or second, but I think it was the first stop. And it was we're off to a good start. I got all this great stuff. Then the next stop was, man, and I apologize, I don't remember his name because we went there twice. But we met a gentleman that I wish we could have went there. I don't know if it was 5 years before or something like that. His father was super heavy into the early V8 club and gathering parts. And his dad had this house in a pretty quiet neighborhood in the suburbs of Seattle, I guess it is. And I think it had a fence around it originally. And he packed the whole yard to the brim with old Fords and parts and stuff. And it was just apparently it was just insane, how packed around the property was. And I think there was a fence up. Well, the house was almost unlivable. And when his dad died, they took the fence down. They started cleaning the property up, and the house was just basically needs to be gutted, or so rough. They just turned it into a storage unit.
Yep.
So they basically made every room a different department. So there was a bedroom that you would go in, a big bedroom, and it was all sheet metal in the whole room. And there was another room that was generators and starters and different stuff. That
was probably one of the craziest ones. We went back then later, a year or 2 later, and that was the craziest. That's the first time I've ever been in a house that the kitchen had flathead cylinder heads just stacked on the counter. It was so wild.
It's one of those with all the stuff that we do. Now, we didn't get an insane quantity there. There
Yeah.
was a lot there, but because we had to ship it all, we had to be a lot more reserved. But like just the setting, some of these places that we go, it's half the fun of what we do. It's like it's much like a lot of the picks that we do now. We kind of decide on them if the car looks like it's in a cool setting or the building
Yeah.
is crazy. So this one was one of those instances where it's like I don't even really remember all the parts I got. I just remember the setting that it was in, and it was just crazy. The garage was packed. Every square inch of the building was packed. And I guess he had the early V8 club over
Mm-hmm.
for like swap meet days where whole club would come over and they'd pick off the shelf and buy some stuff. But like, you know, the club members, a lot of them were probably older and had just as much stuff. So he didn't sell like an insane amount, but he had sold some stuff. So I went there and it was just like totally overwhelming. I'm like, holy crap. So I was going through and trying to buy, I bought a bunch of Strombergs. I bought that really cool single to two adapter that I think Anson made. It's like finned. It has a balance tube
Oh,
on it.
that's right. Yeah.
Super cool. I still have that. Like they're around, but it's pretty unique. Out of all the splitters, I think it's one of the neatest ones. Just because it's all finned. Yeah, I got a bunch of carburetors. I got some 3-window stuff. I got a 3-window dash, which I still have.
I know what you missed. That was 3-window there.
I
though.
know.
I was wondering if you're going to bring that up or not.
That's one of my biggest misses ever at an estate. There was a 3-window door there. I didn't know it. And then fast forward years later, I got the 3-window that I ended up having to buy a door for. And we went back to visit this guy, and he goes, "Oh, I had a 3-window door." He's like, "I just sold it to a guy in Canada. I met him at the border." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah,
to be a dick, I was like, "What side was it?" And he's like, "I'm pretty sure it was the driver's side." I thought Matt was gonna throw up. I was like, "Gosh!"
Oh my god!
So yeah, you were there in 2020.
And it was in the room where I found
The dash.
3-window dash. I found a ton of parts. It was the body panel room.
But
And
that room was an absolute disaster to dig through. There was
And
shit everywhere.
I think I just was so overwhelmed. I kind of was piecing through doors and body panels, and there was so much stuff. I just didn't take in that it was a 3-window door.
Yeah.
And he sold it. It's not like he gave it away, but I want to sell. He sold it for $1,200 or something,
Yeah.
which I paid way, way, way more than that for the pair.
And we also don't know how nice it was. It could have been pretty rough at the bottom.
Well, I don't care either for
Yeah.
that cost.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So you were there in 2020. You bought the 3-window body in 21.
Yeah.
And then you and I went back on that trip in 22. So it was like,
uh,
man, if only I would have known.
but so yeah, digging around in there, I found a lot of good.
And we found a lot of good stuff the second time when we
Yeah.
went back again.
Yeah, so I was mainly going after. I was trying to keep space in mind. So I was mainly going after. If it wasn't really good, I was like smalls, carburetors, and stuff like that. I don't think I got any speed equipment other than that splitter. But I remember it was just all those shelves and shelves in the basement of stuff. And it was like overwhelming because it was just like these wooden, like milk crates of just massive amounts of stuff.
And it's an old house, so there's no light fixtures in the ceiling. So there's just like a standing like lamp with just one bulb screwed in it. So it's like dark and you're trying to dig through stuff. I remember when we went back, it was hard to like using your phone light to try and dig through bins. It was tough.
But I found a lot of good stuff there. He was also really fair with me. It was really nice. I think I kind of hit a sweet spot because a lot of these people that I went to visit were in the same boat as me. They were like COVID shut down. There was no car shows. There was no car events. They were just happy that somebody was coming and they could talk cars and feel a little like normalcy.
Yeah.
So like that's how I felt too. So it was like cool. I'm back to picking. Everybody was pretty cool. A lot of the people. It was simple enough. It was like, how do you feel about the mask thing, or blah blah blah, and like, do we keep our distance, whatever. And some of the people were like, I'd like if you kept the mask on, no problem. Some of the people were like, don't care.
Yep.
So we worked around all that, and it was great. But yeah, I did those two, and I got like, Rick's truck was like
Full.
Yeah, I had like his whole. I think we did both of those stops in the same day, and it was like his bed was full of great stuff, and Rick was like, I remember he was like, because he'd never done this with me, so he's like, so how we do? Was was it pretty good? Like, are we okay? I'm like, we did good. Like, high test stuff.
Yeah,
Both stops right off of the plane, essentially.
it's always a good,
Or
especially.
maybe it wasn't right off the plane. It might have been, the next day. But whatever it was like, holy crap. Like, just crazy. Yeah, because I think, yeah, we didn't do it the same day. I think I did it the second day because I met, Rick dropped me off in like a Burger King parking lot to Ryan after he was done work, like I was a kid coming home from school because I was staying with Ryan at his house. So Rick dropped me off like I think we met in like a Burger King parking lot. It was like I was a kid coming back from summer school. It's really
Hey,
funny.
bud, how was it?
Yeah, I'm like it was so good. But yeah, it was really fun, and so I got a lot of really really good stuff, and I was like, holy crap, this is Pacific Northwest. I've been missing out.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I just got lucky, to be honest, that like these were two places that because Rick was in the club and kind of knew these people, I was able to go to them. And then the third stop was, man,
Was his name Jim?
Jim, yes. So the third stop, and he might have been the first stop now that I'm thinking about it. I'm mixing these all up. Now I'm thinking about it, he might have been the first stop after the plane, and we did the other two people the second day that I hung out with Rick. So we went to visit Jim, and Jim was super cool. I'm so thankful that we got to see him a second time. But Jim, we went during COVID, and his wife was actually in pretty good shape then, so I got to meet his wife as well, which is really good. Like again, like really great memories. So Jim was a lifelong hot rodder, early V8 guy. Worked at Ford for like a many, many, many years. Just a great guy, and he took me there, and it was like that was my first stop because it was my first experience in that area, and they were like Jim and his wife were like so freaking nice. Like I walk off the plane and go there, and they're just like we've been friends forever. And he
Didn't they try and feed you dinner too when you were there, or is that the second time we were there?
That was the second time. I don't remember, but they were just super cool, and they were very friendly and took me around, showed me all their stuff.
And she was also an early Ford collector.
Yeah, they
as
had
well.
a really cool story. They I think met possibly in the early V8
I believe
Corp,
that's how they met. Yeah.
because I think she had a 49 Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
She had some Mercuries, I think, and they met and got married, and then their collections merged together because she had that. What was that crazy Ford? Was it a Galaxy or something? It was like a 427,
Yeah, Galaxy.
something like that. That was her car.
We saw it the second he fired it up for us. Did he fire it up for you the time you were there?
No, it
The
wasn't.
second time we were there, he fired up and revved it. And it was like, this is great.
Oh yeah, but they were just so nice. And one of the main reasons for coming there was Jim had a 33, I think it was a 34,
I think so. Yeah.
34 three window with an Arden in it. He had found all the pieces and put together, and it was a very well known car in the Pacific Northwest because Jim had taken it all over the place. The LA Roadster Show, all these different shows throughout his life, and it was a pretty well known car in that area. And Jim was obviously really proud of it. Super cool to hear the whole story because he had a photo in his house. I never forget of it sitting on its like side under like a bridge in like a ravine or something in like Montana or something like that where he got it. And like the fact that he took something that was that rough, redid it. He found the Arden heads out of maybe Portland or one of the swap meets. So like that whole story of him finding everything, it felt like it was super cool because I was like connecting because I'm like, this is literally what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I had just gotten those Arden heads.
Yeah, you had them.
Just maybe a year before that.
I think it was 2018. So you had him for a year or two.
Yeah. So talking to him about that was just like really cool. And of course, he took me for a ride in the car, which was like amazing. And then he let me, there was a couple odds and ends laying around that he let me buy. He had like a 34 windshield that had a little bit of rust pits that he took out of his car, and just some odds and ends. So it was pretty neat that we got to go there, and I bought some stuff.
I was super happy I was able to. We visited him a second time because the collection just filled with the best like pre-65 Ford cars. Like there was some great
50. He had like some 50s stuff that was
Lincoln and
just
Mercury. They're
yeah.
54. It's a 54 Capri that they had. That was his wife's car.
Yeah, it was so good. He had just was that the one they had just finished not that
Yes.
long ago, repainted it. It was
Yeah.
super cool. And my biggest regret is this both times I was there, he had a cut Lincoln dealer sign that wasn't hanging. It was in the back of the one building. And both times I was there, I asked him about it. The second time he almost was ready to sell, and he goes, how about next time you're over, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
You know. And then unfortunately, Jim had a heart attack, I believe, and he passed away suddenly, not that long after we were there.
Yeah.
And then his wife, I believe, had dementia or something. So she, even when we came, you didn't get to meet her.
No.
So she was had a caretaker, or Jim was taking care of her. But it was really, really great. We got to meet him. He was building some kind of wild project with I don't know if it was a Coyote engine or something. Remember, it was in the
I
garage.
vaguely remember that. We weren't in that garage for very long.
But he was building, and this is like, I always say that when we go to meet some of these guys, that is the dream. That he worked, even though he died suddenly, he was doing what he loved all the way up until the end. It wasn't like he sold everything and went to a home and all his, he lived the rest of his life withering away. Like, he was building stuff up until he died, and like at least he was getting to enjoy the hobby. And that's like that's what's really cool, that these guys, even though he wasn't moving as fast or getting as much done, he was still doing what he loved.
And he loved ripping around in that. The first time you went there, he was having carb problems, right?
I don't know. He was kind of pussyfooting it. I think he was just being a little more reserved with it. But the second time, he hammered on it a little bit.
And it's unfortunate. Matt was like, I took a ride for it last time. We don't have to film it. And then he came back and he was like, I wish I would have filmed it. He was hammering on it.
It was awesome.
It sounded great too.
He had Weber. I think they had Webers on it.
Yeah, it had 8 or
had 4 Weber side drafts on it. It was just like, and he didn't like beat the crap out of it, but he got on and did a good pull in it, and I was like, yes, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So that car, I think, stayed in Pacific Northwest. It got sold. They offered it for sale, and I had heard about it through Rick in the early V8 club, but it was priced a little higher than I could justify or afford at the time, and it was Jim's car. Like, I would have wanted to change a bunch of stuff on it.
He built it in the 80s or 90s, so some of it was dated, like the interior was.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame to that car was perfect as is. It was Jim's car. It's kind of a shame that it didn't get, passed into a family member. But hopefully that car's doing well. I don't know whatever happened to it because I've never seen it show up at shows again.
Yeah.
But if you bought that car, you know where it is. I'd love to hear that it's doing well. But that thing was
killer.
Freaking cool. So yeah, going there was awesome. And then we also stopped on that trip. I didn't buy anything. I could have bought some stuff, but I didn't. We stopped at a guy and husband and wife that were really into the Y Block era Fords, and they had a bunch of original supercharged.
Mainly the McCullough supercharged Y blocks, right? That's like
I think they were only McCullough supercharged.
Well, that was their business, was rebuilding those blowers, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was their business. I don't think it was their business. I think they just were collectors.
Okay.
But they collected factory McCullough, cars. And they had a station wagon that was, I guess, somebody had ordered with the blower.
That's so wild.
And it was for their camper. They had they had a ton of T-Birds. They had like a room. They had this like showroom with like 2 T-Birds I think they restored or something that were beautiful. And they had tons of parts and different stuff. So we went and visited them, and really, really nice people. That was when I was either had just put together, I still had the 39 Forgotten Hot Rod. Because I remember I was asking them about a teapot air cleaner, an original one. And they had, I don't know why I didn't buy it. But anyways, they showed us around. They had some great stuff, bunch of neat parts, tons of cars. Really, really
I
cool.
forgot about that stop too.
Yeah, that was a quick stop. It was just neat to see it. But it was like in a matter of 2 days, I saw like a ton of stuff, and I bought a ton of great stuff. And I'm like, well,
that's not the end of the trip either.
I was like, wow, this is off to a great start. I hope I have enough money.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, Ryan and I hopped in his truck, and we headed. It's a pretty good drive. I don't know if it's 6 or 8 hours or something like that.
No, it's not that. We also drove over to Ben's place first, which is
Oh yeah, we went and visited Ben,
first, and then from Ben's you.
which is a little bit out of the way because we stayed overnight because I remember we ate at Ben where Ben lives is like one of the most picturesque places I've been.
Yeah, it's a.
So Ryan and I stayed at a hotel, and we went to a coffee shop in the little town he's in. He lives outside of the town, but in the little town, it was just this like cool little town with a breakfast coffee spot. And I remember just like the weather was perfect. It was just a little chilly, but like
Mm-hmm.
it was nice. And then we went, of course, to visit Ben. Saw his collection, which was really cool. And then we went over to see Dan, and Dan's place was, holy moly, was that overwhelming. His his dad's stuff. So if you guys didn't watch the video, it's a pretty neat one. Really interesting way that their family, how they got into all these problems. So like his family home where his mother still lives, his dad lived. Basically, they just like fenced in this huge backyard area and filled it with stuff. So like his dad was mainly going to all the dumps, and in that part of the country is a lot more common, I feel like, than it was in other parts of the country. But basically, back in the day, and they did it everywhere, but I feel like in our area, like you don't ever hear about it.
They were cleaned up
Many long
like
time ago.
decades and decades ago.
But basically, they would just have an area where you would just back up to on the side of a hill, into a ravine, side of a mountain, whatever it was, and you just dump your junk,
Yep.
like metal, whatever it was. This is the day and age where we weren't thinking of anything environmentally.
Nope.
So people would just literally back their truck up and they just throw stuff off. They
Push a whole car right off.
yeah, push a car down in. And some of these like dumps were crazy. I mean, I've seen these old time black and white photos of them, like where they're like the side of a river and there's like these cars just all over the place. But like Dan told these great stories of like where it was just like cars were just like, you know, rolled off the side of the hill and they're just like all on top of each other, stacked, however. And him and his dad would just go and they'd literally like camp. They'd just like take their truck, and he said they would like go and spend either a whole day or they'd camp out and they'd go to these like dumps and they'd pull parts, pull taillights, pull trim, pull a whole car, bodies, whatever.
Dan has a pretty cool soda bottle collection.
Oh yeah.
He was telling us stories how he would just like keep going down the layers to find different soda bottles, and he has a whole wall in his personal garage now. It's just like, oh yeah, I found all those at dumps. My dad was doing car parts. I would just look for cool soda bottles and like worm my way down through all these car
Yeah.
bodies, which is absolutely insane to think
Yeah.
about.
So he has some of the best, probably out of anybody I've met. He probably has some of the best car digging stories because they were doing all of that. And like he was just saying how they would just bring trailer loads of junk, junk parts and cars and pieces of bodies home. And then his dad, he was one of the OG hustlers, so he would call up all the different guys he knew that bought.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was there digging through his dad's stuff, there was like almost no 32 to 34 stuff. And I was like, why is there no, like, there's Model A stuff, there's, early V8 stuff. He's like, oh, there was a guy by the name of Mr. 34 or something like that, which we never knew, but I guess he obviously was very legendary in the area because I heard his name come up a few times we were traveling there, but he was apparently like the guy. So you would just call him and he would buy your 32 to 34 stuff. And so it's kind of like,
Easy money.
And we have become a similar way. We get phone calls from people that pick or have stuff and they'll call us and be like, hey, I got this. You want to buy it? So that's why there was none of that. But his dad would go and do that. So when you went to his backyard, it was just, it was the biggest mess
I've been there twice now. And every time we've gone, it's still overwhelming. Even though I was already there before, the last time we went, you walk and you're just like, where do you start?
Yep.
So how did you even did you just pick a corner and kind of just work around?
I don't remember, to be honest. I think I did. I just kind of
because it's like layers and piles. Like it's not like
so
most of these
overwhelming.
places. They're not organized.
This was the least organized because his dad literally would just get a trailer load of stuff and he just offloaded in a pile, and there was and it wasn't just early Ford. Like there was just like all types of stuff, which was kind of cool because I found some like neat airflow hood sides. But
It's
like,
a really off-brand stuff, like teen stuff that's like orphan. They call them orphan brand.
Yeah.
Really weird off-brand stuff.
but I couldn't. What was actually really frustrating was because he was getting the stuff from dumps, these were wrecks and whatever. So there'd be like one hood side, or one half of the hood was good and the other one was smashed. So you'd start pulling it out, and then you'd be like, oh man, crap. Still cool, but like not as good. All the grills that you would find were like smashed and twisted, because anything really good, his dad would have taken it to Portland swap meet, or his dad would have sold privately. But I still was able to pull a ton of great stuff out of there that was there. I remember I found in the one like truck body or whatever, there was like a ton of 46 to 48 Mercury dog dish hubcaps that were like hanging on this one wall, and I just like took every single one, and it was like, I don't know how many there got.
There was a lot.
There was a lot. There was like 10 sets or something like that, and a lot of them were smashed and banged, but most of them were fixable. So like it was a lot of that. I got, man, I don't remember. There was a lot of neat stuff I got, mostly car parts. The only bummer that was there, he didn't. I don't want to say he did a bait and switch on me, but they weren't selling any signs. They have some great signs, and I got there and like, no.
You did buy some advertising. You bought me 2 Hams cash register lights that were in his mom's house. Remember, they were in the garage.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Which then led to me buying a crazy. We'll talk about it in another podcast. But I bought a crazy Hams beer collection out there because of Dan. He's a very good seller. He probably was like, I know just the guy to help you sell this collection. Let me make some phone calls.
Yeah, but yeah. So I forgot about that. I went in the house garage and I found some stuff in the house garage and found those beer lights. But I spent 2 days.
All 3 of you. Ryan was there digging with
Yep.
you, and Ben was there for 2 days too, right?
Yeah. We spent 2 days digging, and Ryan found a ton of good stuff, which he probably still has a bunch of it.
There's some grills in his. So Ryan now moved back to PA, and there's some grills in his barn that are from Dan's dad's place.
Yeah, and because of that whole trip, it's kind of crazy. Ryan and I, like I said, we weren't like close friends. We were acquaintances in high school. But like fast forward, he moved to the other side of the country. He was in the military. He served for a number of years.
Lived in Germany for a long time.
Lived in Germany. Met his wife. Had 2 kids. Like he was living in Pacific Northwest for quite a while. Had a house, a life, and then like he got into old cars real heavy on his own. Way to go, Moon! Pushing his head against the camera.
Yeah, we're still in frame.
Sort of. And we fast forward and we start connecting again through Facebook, and we start talking before even this trip, and realize that he's into a lot of the same stuff. He has like some Model A stuff and blah, blah, blah. So we go out there and we do this road trip together, and like we become like good friends now, way better friends now than we were in high school, because our interests like totally aligned. Like we're like into the same stuff. He's now, since he's moved back to our area, he met another local guy, and he's now getting heavier into like the brass stuff, and he's been doing like the brass tours, and he got a brass car.
He moved home and worked for us for like 6 months.
Yeah, before he got another job, he worked for us like part time.
He was like, I'm bored. You guys need any help? So he worked. He worked with us at Hershey.
Yeah.
And Carlisle one year.
Yep.
He did both events with us. He was just like, I got nothing to do. You guys need any help?
Yeah.
It's like, we got the job for you.
So really, really, really cool. And but that was like, out of that whole trip, it's kind of crazy to think back. Like I made, Dan and his family are incredibly nice people, and like, just really, really awesome. And every time we were there, they've been such good. His wife, Jenny, always cooks. Is an amazing cook, and she always cooks like great food. I remember like I ate breakfast and dinner with the family, and his wife made. They have Marion berries in their yard, which is probably a pretty common thing in that area. But they have some, so she was making she had Marion berry jam and Marion berry pancakes and like all this stuff, and I was like hooked. And every time we come back to visit, we
stayed in their their Airstream trailer,
which was kind of funny because they're like, nobody's really stayed in here since like it was like kids, but. You guys could stay, but they're not really built for like grown
adults. He took the top bunk. He was like jammed against the ceiling.
It's definitely made for children.
Yes.
But super cool. They have this old little Airstream that they used, and they mainly just like hang out and eat outside of it. But we stayed there the one night, which was really fun. And they're just like such a nice family. So I just enjoy visiting them now, like that. So out of that trip, I made, Rick's become a friend, and
Rick's helped us on every trip
every
we've
trip
gone.
out there, we've at least seen him or visited
Yeah.
with him, or he's helped. Um, Ryan to reconnected with, and now he lives back home, and we're good friends with him. Dan, great people, Dan and his family, and so it's like, and then after we got everything, I
Yep.
got all the stuff. We then drove to meet Eddie. Eddie the realtor,
Yep.
is as his internet name is, but he is just one of a kind.
He's a great dude.
He is a fucking riot. Like
He is.
Eddie's just, I don't even know. He's hilarious. He's kind of a mess, but kind of like, it still blows my mind. Only in the Pacific Northwest could he be a realtor.
Yeah.
Because he's like, it's just.
He's a little bit of a squirrely dude.
He's
Sorry, Eddie, I love you, but a little bit of a squirrely
he's
guy.
unhinged.
Yeah.
He's a little unhinged, but I love it. So we met him in his club, and they had like a gathering for me.
Didn't they cook food for you too?
Yeah, they like cooked food and like had a bunch of the guys get together, and they helped me pull everything off and palletize it. And ended up, Eddie bought some stuff. I think a couple guys bought stuff from me, and I packed it all up and was like, "All right, see you guys." And I think.
You still worked for Eastwood at that point, so you were able to ship it through Eastwood.
Yes. I was scheming hard, so I was shipping. I was using Eastwood's freight.
This wasn't the only
yes.
time we've done that.
I did it a lot of times, but I shipped like three or
four pallets, yeah.
pallets back during COVID. So Eastwood was still open, and they were selling online, but I was working from home, and I just went over there and picked them up, because there were still warehouse workers there. But I remember when I got all this stuff back, I didn't do a very good job palletizing the stuff because it was kind of janky, because it was all this like jagged sheet metal that didn't stand or sit right.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of materials to pack with, and also I hadn't done it a bunch of times yet. So one or two of the pallets, when they got there, I think Eddie's one buddy repackaged the one because it was so bad. He was like, "Yeah, I gotta redo this." But the other ones, like, they were like half falling over and the stuff was popping out and jagged. I really should have built like taking cardboard and wrapped it around it or something. But
we're still new at this point. Now we're like seasoned pros, and
Yeah.
they arrive unscathed.
But all the stuff arrived. It was fine, and I remember that was when that trip was kind of like when I started turning up the gas with selling. Like IronTrap was gaining momentum where we were getting leads more frequently, regularly, I guess. And I had flipped the switch. I think it started the Instagram. I had made it the IronTrap Finds.
Somewhere around that time, yeah.
And I started regularly listing on there. And that was one of the first ones where I was like, "Oh, make sure you check our Instagram, blah, blah, blah." And I started selling. And that was where I like started laying all the stuff out and was like posting photos, and people were picking stuff out of photos. That was the same time when Mike at Parts Swapper started doing his lives. So like the online live and online flea market thing started blowing up on Instagram. So like it was a good time for us. He was doing the live, so people were looking, and more older people were getting on Instagram because it was becoming a thing. And so I was just like,
I remember coming over because my beer light showed up, so I had to show up, and there was just like a ton of shit just puked on the floor.
Yeah, the 2 bays were just full of just everything and anything.
And that was at the time where this upstairs wasn't built. It was just the downstairs. It was probably packed to the absolute gill, because that's when we had the Schroll car and the Skelly car.
I think I wasn't utilizing much space at the warehouse at that point.
No,
I think
you
I wasn't
moved out at that point.
I wasn't officially renting there at that point. I had stuff there, but not a ton. And I had it all at home. And
well, to be honest, were we technically ever really renting there?
I think I did sign a lease once. I did sign a lease like towards the end, I think. I think when he like was forced to make the rent like
legitimate,
somewhat close to legitimate, he made me sign up. I don't know.
Yeah, you were using all the space here. There was like stuff everywhere until you
crazy.
sold all of it.
Yeah, I had like the lift up in the air. I had the Schroll car up, the Skelly car under, and just that bay was filled with stuff. It was kind of crazy, but I got a lot of neat stuff out of that trip that I kept. And I'm sure if I think on it more, I could probably think of more stuff. But like that was like, okay, Pacific Northwest is pretty sweet. It was just crazy too because everything was um, like it was crazy to see like how much when I went out in the country and stuff, how many like old trucks and
Yeah.
cars and stuff that were still in decent shape and being just like driven normally. We were
Pacific
seeing,
Northwest is very similar to California, where there's just people still driving like classic cars daily.
yeah, it's
Like,
just like an old car that's
yeah,
driving around a 70s or
I
60s
did a
car.
bunch of work out there when I was younger, and I remember just driving around and just being like, I was really big into imports at that point. So you'd see like Datsuns driving all the time, and you're
It's
just
just like
like,
some old guy driving a Datsun. He's going to work.
yeah, it's like those are all rotted and broken in half back home. Like, it's just a commonplace, or early Porsches or VWs.
Yeah.
It's very, very common out there for just a normal daily driver. It's nice out. Let's take the old car out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. So that was really fun. We did that. Did I film that kind of like artsy video on
Yeah, that was the trip that you filmed that video with.
Dan?
That has a ton of views.
Yeah, so
Sitting in front of the waterfall, the koi pond.
yeah, so that was like also we were trying to start doing more of these like thought out videos on places that were really crazy. So it was like we had done the Packard video and some of that stuff. So it was like, okay, I should do one with Dan.
Yeah,
And it was really his place is pretty easy to make it look awesome. But
Yeah.
but it came out really cool because he interviews well and it was just
that was
a
our
really new-
first podcast guest without having a podcast for the most part.
Yeah.
It was like an interview, sit down interview about Dan.
And then Dan
his,
was one of our first podcasts actually.
one of, yeah, he was in the first 10, I think.
No, he was like first one or two.
Oh yeah, I guess because we did Matt.
Because when we went out to him, he might have been the first person other than Matt.
I'm trying to remember. Probably,
I
yeah,
think that was the same trip.
yeah,
We were like, we're gonna do a podcast,
yeah.
and we actually started doing it in that winter, and then that spring we went and did both of those guys.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but yeah, that if you haven't seen it, the video specifically on Dan's collection is just like crazy cool.
In the comments, this trip, I think you did two or three videos, the unloading and Dan's, like nice artsy video. I'll put all those in the video description to go back. I stole clips from all of those videos, but if you'd like to go back and watch the whole thing, they'll be in the description.
So I was doing everything. I was picking, I was filming, I was negotiating, I was loading, I was unloading, I was like everything. I couldn't have had more fun, but it was exhausting. And luckily I had Ryan with me. He helped me load, and we used his truck and trailer, which was great.
I'm
but-
sure you guys look like a junker driving down the
Oh
road.
yeah. I think we had a trailer.
You might have. I don't know.
No, we might have just had his truck, but he had like
He has
think
one of
he-
those cargo net things.
yeah, I think he had sides on it. But I bought so much crap. It was awesome and just insane the stuff we were seeing.
It's always interesting the friends and the connections that we make on these trips that last, I mean, we've been back to
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest 3 times since then,
right.
and we visit with the same people every time we go down. Like, we made a special trip to go down, and we didn't really buy anything from Dan or his dad. We did a little digging, but it's just hung out with the family for the
We
most
kind of
part.
just came to visit them. Was
Yeah.
that when you were getting your?
The second time we went down, we just visited them because of the what did we go down for the second time?
I don't remember.
Oh, it was just to film the podcast.
Oh, I forgot. I had another stop on that trip. I stopped at. I took a ferry to. Why can't I remember the shop's name? Oh, I'm so mad at myself. I went to. He has a ton of killer stuff. He's a traditional hot rod guy, and.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, he took me for a ride in his 32 Roadster, and he had a 32 two-door sedan. He had a bunch of stuff in a building, and I
don't remember.
I filmed there, but I don't remember the name of his shop, and now I feel like a jerk. He's always posting on Instagram. Dang it. I hate when I do this and I forget somebody's name.
As you can tell, we do not prepare for this podcast at all. We just sit down and go.
Stall for me. I don't follow a lot of people on Instagram, and he's one of the small
Few.
300 I follow.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember from the video. Usually I can
I'm
remember
really
the stuff
sorry.
from editing
Yeah.
the videos.
Really
We
sorry.
literally sat down before we started and we're just going over random things we could talk about.
Yeah, we decided this is the trip we were doing, and I didn't even think about it for even 3 seconds. So this is all off the cuff. So I couldn't even say 2000 correctly. So that's already.
I'm proud of you for saying it correctly there, though. Good job, buddy.
Yeah,
You're not having a stroke.
because that's the only thing in my brain right now. I can't think of. Oh, North Palm Speed.
Oh,
Charlie and Kelly.
that's
Kelly
right. They're in
Haskell.
Oregon, right?
Yes. So we took a ferry with Ryan's truck over to wherever they're at and went and visited them. And
That's
he
right.
had talk about high test stuff. He's got fantastic stuff. So we spent like a whole day there. He had gotten I can't remember the name of the car, but he had gotten a I think it's a Detroit hot rod that now I think Mel from Race Gentleman owns. He's been trying to sell it for a while. I don't know if he actually sold it. He might have sold it by now.
It's a 32.5 window, right?
32.5 window that's chopped. It's a really in the Detroit area. It's a pretty famous car. It's in a bunch of old books and magazines.
It's so wild that it
The
ended
track
up
nose on it, and I don't remember how somebody else found it, and then Charlie had bought it and had it shipped to him, and he had gotten it not that long before then. And I saw it and I was like, this thing is rad, and I was like in love with it, but it was really, really rough.
Yeah, it's
and I
rough.
had the Schroll car at that point. I'm like, I can't take on
another ship box.
Yeah, and then somehow through whatever happened, Mel ended up buying it from it, shipped to Jersey. Mel's had it for years, and in the past couple years, he on and off again will put it for sale, and I haven't seen him post in a while, so maybe it actually sold. But that was one I was super tempted.
If you don't follow Charlie on Instagram, you should. He's a high school shop class teacher, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. They did a coupe for Trog 2 or 3 years ago. It was the Taco Coupe. It was a 34 coupe that looked like it got ran into a light pole on the side and was literally folded in half.
Totally smashed as bad as it could get, and they cut it all apart and chopped
Straightened
it,
it.
made it into like a dry lakes kind of.
So the
Looking
whole
car.
process was so cool because it looked fucked. It was totally folded in half.
But that talk about a cool shop teacher,
Yeah.
that's what everybody would want for a
Oh my
shop
gosh.
teacher. But they were again, that was another instance. Like just met them and we had lunch and sat there and he showed me all these old photos and we talked about Survivor hot rods and all this stuff, and it was just like it was just really, really pleasant experience. Every single stop was just like,
I totally forgot that you stopped and visited.
yeah,
him,
and I can't believe I almost forgot about it. But that was like on the way down.
Uh-huh.
I think we stopped.
I forgot, yeah, because I totally forgot Ryan's truck's like a big F350 dually with a flatbed, and you had to put that on a ferry to ferry it to get there.
And it was like, this isn't like what you would think of like a big ferry. Like,
It's like a 2 or 3 car ferry, right?
yeah, it's like a little like.
Now
little-
that you mentioned it, I remember editing that. You
It's
guys were
like-
like, "This is sketchy."
Yeah, it's like a little barge thing. I don't remember, but I was just like, this is what we're going on? Okay. But it was super cool. Riding in Charlie's 32 Roadster made me kind of be like, I kind of need one of these. Like I'd been in them before and around them, but like he lives in a really, rural area, much like we live in, where it was like, he took me out on like one of the rural roads and we drove and I was just like, it's like old black 32 Roadster. I'm like, man, this is it. Like,
5 months later, you bought the DeLorean Roadster.
Did I?
Yeah, it's the same year, 2020.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 2020 was wild.
Yeah, you bought
was-
the Schroll car, the Skelly car. You bought the DeLorean car, and
I bought the 33 3-window, I believe. that
I was
year.
gonna say, I'm pretty sure that was all 4 bucket list cars for people in the same year.
Among other stuff I bought that we
Yeah.
sold, but we were on a roll for buying really neat
Yeah.
stuff, and I was only able to do that because I was buying and selling junk for all those years and was gathering cash,
Mm-hmm.
and I was finally ready. And then when those moments came during COVID, there was so much stuff popping up; it was kind of wild.
It
So
was
It worked out really well, but yeah, that trip was really good.
definitely this coming 2026. We should try and make a trip to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, we got to make it happen.
We got to go to that swap meet was really good too.
Oh yeah, the
Monroe swap meet. That was amazing. We'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah,
That was one of our other trips up there.
Yeah, but we need to make another trip up there. It'd be really fun because it was, that's like if you're trying to look for an old like original paint Survivor truck, holy crap, is that the place to go?
Yeah.
They're all over the place, and even the guys that are buying them and reselling them on Marketplace, they're still sometimes pretty affordable.
Yeah.
Like, it's only the like really rare stuff that's going for crazy money, but the stuff that would be like way expensive here, you see it there. And you're like,
The logging industry is so big up there. There's so many like this in our area of the country. It's hard to find a 4-door, a crew cab,
Yeah.
70s Ford pickup truck. That's like just a normal occurrence out there everywhere.
yeah, it seems like everybody's finding them there all the time, and just any of the like late 50s to late 70s Ford and Chevy trucks. They're just like
Everywhere.
they're everywhere there, and it's like it's just kind of crazy. So I could see why it's a desirable area to find stuff. It's a pretty cool. I've said a couple times after that trip, I love our area that we live in. I have no interest in moving, but like if I was gonna move, that's probably one of the first areas that I would consider
I've
living
spent a
in.
lot of time out there, and it's my favorite area.
It's
Not
just-
Seattle necessarily, but Southern
Yeah, I would-
Washington, Northern Oregon is like the perfect
Super
place.
cool. Yeah, and it's like it's pretty neat because you can go, it's kind of like here where you can go an hour from the city, and it's like you can find a little spot where you can move where you're in the middle of nowhere. You can go 15 minutes to like the biggest town.
Yeah.
And most of the people we met were a bunch of them were like that, where it was not necessarily Dan. He was kind of in a neighborhood in his town or city, but like Matt, Seattle Speed Shop, Matt, like place where he lived, it was like not that far away from stuff, but just far enough,
Yep.
So like a bunch of the people I visited were like that. So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful area for sure.
If you haven't visited the Pacific Northwest, highly recommend it.
We also do travel suggestion videos
Yes.
now. So that's our,
Well, on top of the IronTrap experience, we also offer travel guide. So if you'd like us
Yeah.
to plan a trip for you, just hit us up
Yeah,
for
we
a
can
small fee.
small fee. So yeah, that's our little BS session on the COVID Pacific Northwest
I know. I
trip.
wish I could have went on it. It would have been great.
It was a really good one. I remember Kate was bummed because she had never been and wanted to go, and I was just like, she was also like a little nervous because COVID was still
Yeah.
very much a thing. It was a little bit of a risk to go, but I was like, I don't know. I was fair. The way I looked at it is like I was a fairly young, healthy person. I didn't smoke my whole life. I was like, you know what? At that point, COVID was scary, but they were it was like,
A little bit more known. It was like 4 or 5 months into all of that.
yeah. So it was kind of like people were getting it and beating it, but like it was definitely the people that were dying from it. A lot of them had pre-existing causes. So like it was risky. I won't deny the fact of that it was like a little careless, but I was like, eh.
In hindsight, it's a lot less careless than we thought it was at that time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was fine. So then the next trip to Pacific Northwest, Kate got COVID, so it worked out great. So
no, it was just there was one before that. Me, you, and Kenny went, and then you and Kate went a couple months after that. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Yep. Can't remember anything.
Yeah.
That's our podcast. Thank you for listening.
We'll see you guys at Carlisle and Hershey.
Yeah.
And if you have any podcast topics,
Shoot
mention
some
them to us because we're dumb and we can't think of stuff to talk about sometimes.
We have some, but
Yes.
one every week. We're trying to think of other ones, but yeah, if you have any ideas, just drop us a line, and you can drop a comment down below on YouTube and also Spotify, and give us a review if you're watching on Apple or Spotify.
Yeah.
Tell people what you think of our. Give us a rating. That helps our podcast. So, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Catch you later. See you.